What's up, guys? Today we're going to get into part 2 of my Fatman build. If you haven't seen part 1, check it out. I'll put a link down in the description. We're going to pick up right where we left off last week. Let's get to it. As you guys saw, the firing mechanism worked. I'm super happy with that. So, no tweaking need to be done to that. I might just cut the bolt down a little bit and it should be good. So on to the next bit. So making a functioning trigger and sear setup. So I'm going to pull the trigger. There's going to be a pivot about here. So that's going to, so when you pull the trigger, it's going to pull, I don't know whether I'm going to use a cable or something solid yet, on this guy. So this guy's going to catch on there. That's going to twist that way, which will allow the carriage to slip over it and slide along. For these bits, I'm going to be using a little 1/4 inch thick plate. There's going to be a lot of tension on that, so I'm going to use 1/4 inch for the little brackets that it's going to bolt to as well. The trigger, I figured I'd just use 1/4 inch anyway, because when you're firing a Fatman, you want it to feel like a Fatman, right? I'm going to add a little bit more meat to this steel here, because as you can see, it's pretty thin. It's probably like 20-22 gauge, I'm not sure exactly, but not the beefiest stuff. It's just what I had that fit inside of this tube. So I'm just going to add a little plate on the bottom there, so that there's not a ton of pressure on that thin steel, and then we should be good. As you guys can see here, add that little bit of steel there. I'm about 1/8 of an inch thick there now. I think that should be hopefully enough to hold everything in place. And as you can see, I can slide forward here now, and I'm gonna stop. So the sear here, as it gets pulled back, you can see the carriage actually moving here as I do it. I'm gonna have to shave down my sear a little bit so we don't get quite as much movement there. So, but if I put a little bit of forward pressure on here, as we slip over the sear, that's what it'll release. And I'm going to be adding a spring right here, which will just keep tension there. So it'll reset the trigger and the sear when we slide back over. So that's sliding, 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 and snap. All right, I'm going to get working on the trigger mechanism here. My camera's almost dead, so I'm going to skip the time lapse on this one, but I'll bring you guys back as soon as I'm done. Hey guys, so I pulled a late one last night. Obviously you didn't see it because you're just behind the camera, but we're in good shape now. I actually ended up breaking a drill bit. That took me about 1.5 hours longer than I had tried to last night. So, our trigger mechanism here. As you can see, we are attached with some mechanics wire to our sear back here, which is on a spring. And the spring is great because it resets both the sear and the trigger. So as you can see, I still don't have anything fabbed up yet to hold the cables. And this is my drawing mechanism at the moment. I'm going to have to refine this a little bit. It's not working out quite as well as I wanted to. So let's see if I can show you this here. So it automatically catches. I'd say there's about 70 pounds of tension. It's pretty similar to my bow. So once we're on there, trigger up here. I'm super happy with that. So initially my plan was, with the drawing mechanism here, do that again. So initially my intentions were to be able to draw it back like that and then just stuff all this rope inside of the tube. The nylon rope I have though isn't really bendy, so it doesn't want to just stuff in there like I wanted it to. I might end up doing something like Windley Creations did and just have a cable I sort of loop around the carriage here, pull it back when I want to reset it, but I'll figure that out when it comes to it. I'm just happy I have the mechanism going now. Next thing to fab, a couple guys to hold these cables on, and then after that just something to hold the grip, because I want something solid to be able to hold on to. After that, I might just add a couple tabs along the sides for the cosmetic bits, just so I can bolt them on and take them off if I ever need to do any maintenance or do any modifications to it to make it work better. But for now, I'm very happy with how it's turned out. And that's it for our functional fabrication anyway. So, as you guys have seen, we have the roller in the front. I don't think I mentioned it, that's actually made from a shock bushing and a couple of shock washers. So this tube here, this is for my forward grip. I figured it'd be safe, since that's going to be one of the few exposed areas of metal, to make this guy removable so that I can make potentially a foam one to replace it with for going to conventions and whatnot. As you know, if you guys know, convention police can be a little nitpicky. Worst case, I can make a foam one with like a little bolt on the end that can just thread right in there in place of the metal one. I just prefer a metal one to actually have something to hold. Obviously I had to make a metal handle here just for carrying this thing around because it is pretty hefty. And then this is just my simple and easy way of bolting everything down, or bolting my cables down. So my cables will run through this little piece of tube, over top of this guy, and back through, and then just bolt it down, and that should keep them nice and snug. With all the structural fabrication work done now, I'm going to end today's episode. Please join me again next week. We'll get into some foam and some fiberglass work to make this actually look like a Fatman. If you guys like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.